Coming up, today's guest is the CMO at From the Bench, a company that has over 60 million downloads and hundreds of thousands of daily active users. You're about to discover how to get licenses from the biggest sports leagues, why mid-size influencers are the most effective, and lastly, how to optimize your ads for maximum revenue. All that and so much more.
The most action-packed content from the top mobile experts. This is the App Masters Podcast with Steve P. Young.
Adjust gives you the tools you need for end-to-end app analysis, not just the macro level stuff, but the micro details. You can identify, dissect, and leverage data trends. Just go to adjust.com/appmasters. AppRadar helps you accelerate your mobile growth through their simple ASO platform, and they set up optimized Apple search ads to help you scale up your user acquisition. Check them out at appradar.com. What is up, App Nation? It is Steve P. Young, founder of appmasters.com. This is the podcast YouTube channel and the agency that's going to really help you growth hack your downloads, because I talk to some awesome people in the app space to really learn strategies from them. And then hopefully we can all use it together to grow our businesses. And today I've got a phenomenal guest all the way in Spain. He stayed up, had an early dinner just for us. His name is David Cremades, and he is the CMO at From the Bench. Check him out at FromTheBenchGames.com. They've got licenses with the NFL. They got millions upon millions of downloads and hundreds of thousands of daily active users. So I can't wait to talk about influencer marketing, licensing, and ASO and ad monetization with David. But without further ado, David, welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me here in the show. I have been learning for a lot of time from your podcasts.
Oh, thanks.
So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
David, this is so amazing to me is that, you don't know who's listening. And then when you and I exchange emails, I was like, heck yeah, like, come on. Like, I can't believe you're in the audience, like it's really cool. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
No, it is absolutely true. I have listened a lot of podcasts from you.
Oh, that's great. All right, David. So enough about me. I love talking about me, as my wife will tell you. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about the company that you started before this. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I'm interested as somebody who runs an agency. Like, how do you make that shift to more of a product company?
It was because one of the founders of that agency, we used to code e-commerce sites in that agency. And one of the founders created a manager game just for him and his friends. And that product, it was without any kind of design. It was a mess, but the mechanics of the game was really good, and it started to grow. A lot of people from Spain started to claim to play that game, and they decided to include that game in the agency. And because we have a lot of developers, designers, and so on, so we created a big product. The product started to work very well. We have thousands of players. At that time, it was 2005, so it was not mobile at that time, and the product grew so much that we decided to create a different company just for gaming, because it didn't make sense to have e-commerce in the same company, the gaming, that they are totally different things. So with that game, we created From the Bench in 2008, and yeah, that's the story of From the Bench.
I love it. Is it sort of like, hey, this game and this other company From the Games is making so much revenue that sort of, like people who end up leaving their jobs, right? Like, oh, I'm making this much money on my side income, so now I'm going to really focus on this new company. So I guess the question is, David, how do you know when to actually focus on this brand new company and put all of your energy there?
as you said, the thing that makes us to do the new company, to create the new company, was because we were generating revenue with that game, and it was it was not clear for the agency why the agency was successful, because of the games, because of the e-commerce. So we decided to split the revenue, and the easiest way to do this was to create a new company.
That's awesome. So let's talk about something that's working for you today. I love starting off the podcast interviews with this topic now. You said one strategy that's working for you today is ASO and then using the official license.
So sorry, can you repeat the question?
I was saying, like, what's a strategy that's working for you today?
Okay. Okay. We started working with official licenses because at that time we didn't have enough money to run marketing campaigns. So we thought at that time that it was a good idea to go with the official license, because going with them means to have organic downloads. And nowadays it's something that it still works. So you release a game with the NFL license and you have downloads. That's true. And in the end, you are paying for marketing, but in a different way, paying for the license. So this is one thing that it still works. And now we are quite focused on App Store optimization, as you say, because the CPIs are each day more expensive. So it's not easy to run profitable campaigns, user acquisition campaigns. So it's very, very important for us to grow our organic downloads. And we are working very hard in the App Store optimization side of the company.
I want to talk about licensing, definitely get into more of the App Store optimization part. So when you're talking about licensing, it's like the NFL, FC Barcelona, Liverpool FC. So you have some major like brands that you've licensed it. Wasn't it scary first? Because I have to imagine these are very expensive licenses.
It really depends on the license and on the time, because they are changing their strategy. So, for instance, we have been working with Real Madrid it was our first customer, our first partner. It's not a customer. We released the Real Madrid Fantasy Manager in 2009. So we have been working with them for 10 years, and we are working with them with a revenue share. So the share is quite high because it's 50%.
Yeah.
But at least you don't have to pay a license. It depends on the revenue you are getting from the game. Working with licenses such as NFL or NBA is more expensive, but the revenue is lower. And you have to do your market research before signing the agreement, because sometimes they are asking for more than it deserves, and sometimes it is fair. So it needs to spend some time doing a market research.
Yeah, I see. Are you, like, for the beginner out there who's kind of like, hey, I want to sort of figure out this licensing agreement too, is there, like a website that you would point them to as a good resource, or where to find people to get a license?
It was quite easy to do so because, as I have told you, we started working with Real Madrid. So it was like very easy to get contacts through LinkedIn, because if you are working with Real Madrid, it's like, okay, if the Real Madrid is doing so, we trust you, and we think that we can work together. And at first, we worked with many different football clubs. We got up to 30 or 40, I don't remember the figure, official licenses before going to the NBA. And going to the NBA, having so many official licenses from the soccer world, but in the end they were really important. It was not easy, but it was possible, because at that time NBA was working only with 2K, EA Sports, and us. So it's not easy for a company from Spain, from Alicante, that it is a small city in the southeast part of Spain, to work with the NBA. And it happens the same with the NFL. NFL has only two games, Madden and NFL Manager. So it's not easy, but it is possible, having a background full of experience with licenses.
So let me ask you this. You said it, David, and obviously I don't want you to give away too many trade secrets, but like at the same time, you said, hey, it's harder for somebody in Spain to try to get an NFL license. So how are you able to manage to do that?
To be honest, we have the license of the NFL because they got in contact with us.
That's awesome.
And they say to us, okay, we want a game like NBA Manager, but with our license. So in this case, it was really, really easy.
What about the NBA then? Since you already have
the NBA, we don't have the license of the NBA right now. We have been working with them for 5 years, but I don't know if you are familiar of how the sport associations work in the US, but the most of them have two different associations, and one is the one that manages the rights of the teams. For instance, with the NFL, with American football, is the NFL manages the rights of the teams, and the NFLPA, it is Player Association,
right,
manages the rights of the players. And to release a game like our game, you need to agree with both of them. So you will spend the twice of the time and probably the twice of the money.
Yeah.
And the NBA was the only one that, with only one license, you had all the rights until last season, that they split the association into two, and they now have the NBAPA. And with the NBA was easy to renew the agreement, but with the NBAPA, that it was a new association with low resources, it was not possible. They told us that they wanted to spend 1 year without any kind of licensing. They needed some time to do everything. So we're planning to get in contact with them for this upcoming season.
Okay. Now with the Real Madrid, you said, hey, LinkedIn works great. You can just look up people. So I literally put on LinkedIn Real Madrid, and I found somebody, Rafael from Head of Digital. Are those the type of people that we should be looking for if we're trying to get licensing agreement? I did try to put licensing too. The search result wasn't so good.
Yeah. The problem is that Real Madrid is not a common case. I mean, the most of the football clubs have very, very few people working in the digital department. So you won't find every time a person that it is for digital licensing or something like that. So sometimes it's not so easy to find the right people to approach, because maybe there are only 3 or 4 people in the whole marketing department. So and you don't know who is in charge of the mobile space, and most of the times none of them is in charge of that part.
It's not easy then. I do know that, you obviously there's a better way to just filter with the current company, maybe do some where their location at. So there's ways that you can hack LinkedIn to sort of try to find the right person. And that's the best way of doing it. The hack that I got, David, from somebody else was, if you're trying to connect with somebody on LinkedIn and try to do some, BD, the way that somebody else did it was, if we're a third connection, I try to find somebody that's connected to you that I might be a good second connection, and then connect with that person first. And then so that you and I become second connections before that and reach out to you. So that's a little LinkedIn tip that I got from somebody else too.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. In my case, I don't usually need that, because when you are in connection with a lot of clubs, in the end, you are in connection with the people that you want to.
Oh, you're big time, David. You're big time. Hey, so next I want to talk about ASO and what you, as somebody who's got millions upon millions of downloads and hundreds of thousands of daily active users, what do you focus on? Is it keywords? Is it screenshots? Is it app icon? I want to know all about how you focus on ASO. But before I do on the topic of ASO, I've got a great tool for you guys. It is appradar.com. I know a few of you in the audience have told me that you've signed up for AppRadar. So let me know how that's going. I use it all the time to track the keyword rankings, to look at the traffic data, to look at the difficulty, to spy on my competitors as well. And so with AppRadar, what you can get, unlike other tools out there, is they're giving away everything for free. So just a caveat, you do have to connect, unlike the other tools as well, you do have to connect your iTunes or Google Play account. But once you do that, then you can add your apps in there and then get all the data that you need in terms of keyword volume, the traffic difficulty, what are your rankings. And then it's sort of like App Annie too. I have a daily email for my apps and some of my clients' apps where I see a daily email on the rankings and how well we're doing with downloads. One of my clients with 10x downloads. I'm super excited about that. So like we're doing thousands a day now, which is really cool. But they've got a free plan up to 200 keywords. So if you're ready to get started and you're indie app developer, or you're just a big developer like David is from the bench, go check them out. Free plan, get started for free. And then if you need to upgrade, you can do that as well. But it is appradar.com. Let them know you heard it on this podcast so that I get a little bit of love too. Not anything monetary. I just want the credit. They've already paid me. But once again, it is appradar.com. All right, David. So on the topic of ASO, like what are you focused on?
We try to be focused on everything because the problem with App Store optimization is that you never know what is going to work and in what way. So we are running experiments on a daily basis. I mean, we try to have experiments in all of our games. Sometimes it's with the icon, but the problem with those experiments is that you need art design, you need some creatives. So if we cannot get them, at least we are running experiments with the description, short description. So we think that experiments are really important because it's an easy way to increase the number of downloads. Although it takes time, sometimes you don't get the results that you are waiting for, but it's some games always.
Are you
and after that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We are also working in keywords for sure, and for that we try to analyze what countries are interesting for us, and on iOS we especially in Google Play we try to use all the languages. For instance, this is something that we try to do in our games, and on iOS at least 4 or 5 languages in all of our games. And yes, keywords is the thing that we try to be focused. And we have some small games in which we run some strange experiments using some keywords that maybe does not make sense, but sometimes you see surprises with the results. I guess that you know more than me in that area.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I mean, I just literally had a call with a client this morning. He's like, I'm not sure about these keywords. I'm like, look at the data, man. Let's try it. And I think it is the core audience that would want this app. So let's give it a shot. You just never know. Is there a way that you like to experiment with keywords? Or is it just like, one of my friends said, or one of my clients actually, I was like, hey, what about this keyword? I know it's like not the perfect match, but like, I think it would be a good one. And then he just ran some Apple search ads with an exact match on that keyword and just saw like, is it converting? And he saw like, hey, Steve, it's actually converting well. Let's use it in our organic. Do you have a way of testing too?
Yes. We run a lot of different tests with keywords. And sometimes, as you say, you receive more downloads, but the retention of the quality of the users decreases. So that it is something that we have achieved sometimes. That, for instance, our games are manager games. They are not simulators like FIFA, for instance. So, but obviously, if you use some keywords or some screenshots in which the game looks like simulators, they are more appealing for users.
Mm-hmm.
And the most of the times you get more downloads, but they will be disappointed with the game because it is a managed game. So you have to be careful with your strategy, because receiving more downloads is not always the best option.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you said that, because I'm dealing with this with a client of mine too, where we 10x those downloads, and it's like, Steve, the retention has gone down. And I'm like, well, I think that's just natural, because that's what I thought, David. So you tell me if I'm wrong, because we're ranking really well for some like really great keywords. But I'm like, I think we have to sell them with the screenshots to let them know what they're getting into, and maybe the onboarding to let them know that this is what this app does, right? Like they're probably expecting one thing, but then the app isn't fulfilling them. So like, I feel like we have to optimize the screenshots, optimizing the description, optimizing the onboarding so that they know what they're actually getting into.
Yeah, but you're totally right. But in the end, you have to be careful, because if you get a lower retention, you know that Google Play is taking that into account when ranking the apps, or if you are getting worse ratings. Because in our case, for instance, we have a lot of people saying that this app is not a simulator. So we know that it is not a simulator, but
Right.
they were right, because the screenshots looked like the game was a simulator. So it's fair to to say so.
So from all the experiments that you're running, what's been one that really worked really well?
In our case, when you use you are able to use football players or NBA players, it makes a difference. I remember one experiment that we ran with Real Madrid, because they have a style guide, very not very flexible, because we couldn't use football players in the icon, and we pushed a lot to at least to run an experiment, and with the numbers decide together if it makes sense to use them or not. But the problem when you are working with licenses is that you have to use, for instance, in football, it is 5 players. So we had to use 5 players in the icon. So you can imagine that the size of the players was really small.
Yeah.
But the experiment was successful in just one day, with a difference of 30%.
Wow.
So it was amazing. We do the same change in all countries, and the number of downloads increased a lot just for using the players in the icon. And once you have done so, what we did was to use different players depending on the country. If you are having Real Madrid in Brazil, you will use different players that in France or Spain, because the players, the fame of the players is not the same.
Oh, interesting. So it's the same team, but then like players swap, because like depending on the country, like this player may be more popular. So the front guy, because I see the icon, the 5 players in the US, like there's one guy in the front. So I guess, are you interchanging the main guy a little bit?
And for making the decision of what players to use, we use Google Trends, Google AdWords to see the price of the bid. So with that tools, you can know what players are more interesting to do the icon.
That's awesome. Hey, David, let me ask you this. Like, have you run any experiments between like portrait and landscape screenshots, and which one converts better? I'm looking at a bunch of your apps, and I know some use portrait, some use landscape. Do you have a preference on what's really converts better?
Not to be honest. We have been using portrait because we have been working with an agency called Upcape here in Spain, and they say to us that they were better, but we have changed it recently and we didn't notice any change. So I don't know.
That's,
So we don't have any data that I can share with you that with that in mind.
what about with video? Has that made any difference for you guys?
Yes, and not using video is better.
You know what? That's what people say all the freaking time. Like, that's why I told my clients, like, should we do video? I read that you should do video. I'm like, you know what? I've heard both ways. Sometimes it improves it. Sometimes it doesn't improve it. Like, I've heard both. So I'm like, is it really worth it?
Yeah,
I think you have to
in
sort of
our
test.
in our cases, we have both cases. We have experiments that have been successful, and other ones that have not been successful. But the most of the times, without video is the winner.
There you go. I love it. This is why, you know what? This is why I love what I do. Because I have questions from people I don't know the answers to. I always talking to people. I just ask you guys. See, this is how you do this. You just surround yourself with awesome people. All right, David. So the last thing I want to get into is influencer marketing. I know you have this great presentation, so I'm not going to cover everything that you said in the presentation. I'm going to link it up into the show notes. If you just look for influencer marketing at Promotion Summit, you'll see David's presentation there. But talk to me about a strategy that worked. And what I really loved about the presentation is you broke down like which ones are the most controllable, right? Like, hey, if you work with the agency, it's a lot less work, but it has this advantage. And you really broke down all the different segments of what requires a lot of work, what's more effective. So tell us from all you that experience, like what works really well with influencer marketing.
It depends on your strategy and your budget. Working with an agency is going to be quicker, but it's going to be much more expensive. They usually work with bigger influencers, so it depends on your budget. But from our experience working with mid-size influencers, it's really worth because they are more involved with the campaign because they usually are trying to increase their audience. They are trying to do many sponsorships. So from our experience, the mid-size is the most cost-effective influencers, and for that we usually use platforms such as FameBit, for instance.
Got it. And in FameBit, I thought they work like an agency. Like, hey, you give us a budget, we're going to find the mid-size influencers and then run the budget with you. Am I wrong in that?
FameBit is a marketplace. It's not an agency. It's a marketplace in which you say, I have this campaign to run, and I'm looking for influencers from this country and this kind of topic of the channel, and you receive offers, and afterwards you can negotiate with them, and you have to negotiate always because you will get a better price and better conditions. But working with an agency is always is also good. Our best campaign was with an agency, with an influencer called Delantero09 from Spain, but his audience is from Argentina, Mexico, Spain, these all Spanish countries, language countries, and with the cost of the campaign was around $2,000, and we were in ranking number 2 in Mexico, number 1 in Argentina, number 10 in Spain. Just one video.
Wow!
So if you calculate the CPI, it's really, really low, and we are getting downloads from that campaign that happened more than a year ago. Right now, so because it is one thing, what good thing from YouTube, because the videos are live, so you can still watch them and download the game.
Would you recommend YouTube out of all the different platforms?
Yeah, for gaming.
Yeah, for like longevity too. Like it's always out there. Like it's continually, like you said, it continues to drive. Where like an Instagram story or Instagram post is kind of like, what's the next thing, right? Like nobody's really scrolling down, but YouTube, you have the SEO and the awareness too.
Especially for games, I think that YouTube is
That's really cool.
is the source that fits the audience perfectly, because you have time to explain the game, and maybe you are not going to spend more than a minute talking about the game, but you have the time and it's really good for a game.
Hey, David, when you said mid-size influencers, like what range are you talking about in terms of follower count?
I would say 100K.
100K to like a million, or 100K to half a million?
Yeah. That's it. From 100K to a million.
To a million. Okay. Yeah, that's a good. And with FameBit, I know I think they changed their model a little bit, because I had past clients use them a few years ago. I didn't even know they got bought out by YouTube. Is that FameBit by YouTube? But like, it's sort of like Upwork, but for influencer marketing, where you post a proposal, people like start bidding on it. I am sending you proposals, and then once you pick somebody, they take a 10%. Looks like, from what I can tell on the website.
Yeah, I think it works like that.
Yeah, it's very cool. David, anything we miss that you want to make sure we cover?
No, I think that we. You wanted to talk about ad monetization, I think.
Oh yeah. Hit me with the ad monetization side of things. What's working well?
For us, until we started to be focused on that part 2 years ago, until that moment, we used AdMob, or I don't remember the ad mediation, but it was like nobody in the company was optimizing that part. So we got some revenue, but we didn't know if it was good. It was it was improvable, but we started to be focused on that, and we have increased a lot that part. So, and the good thing is that now developers are engaged with this part, and they are part of the because you know that developers usually hate to include SDKs to show different ads. So, but now that they are aware that the revenue of the company is increasing just for changing the ad network that we are using, they are more involved in this part, and they are happy to do those changes. And what's working? I think that all the companies are really focused on rewarded videos.
Mm-hmm.
We are using Apotil for mediation. There are a bunch of companies out there. Each company will tell you that its mediation is the best, but you have to try different companies to make your own decision. And one tip that we usually I would say is to run A/B tests for everything. Mm-hmm. We try to run A/B tests, for instance, to know how many interstitials to show for each user, or the capping for regarded videos, daily capping, because it is good that the users use them, but it is not if they are able to farm coins just for watching videos. So this is the typical things that you have to test to get the most of them.
What's the good balance with the video? Because I have a past client. They're in Spain too. They're in Seville, but
yeah,
Genera Games.
Genera Games, yeah, I know them.
Yeah, I know them really well too. Friends. I love their game, Bricks, Blocks, Blast. I'm by far, David, the furthest I know for a fact. And so I've been talking to Kike, like the CEO. I'm like, yeah, like I want to work with you guys because I love this game, but like I feel like there's so many mistakes that they're making from an ad monetization standpoint. I know the game in and out, right? Like I'm like, this would be a great spot. I'll watch a video for you guys, but I feel like they're failing in that regard. But you said something very interesting. Rewarded video is working really well, but there's a cap. So how often do you like to show for one user, one session? How often do you like to show a video ad?
We usually have videos. It does not depend on the number of videos, but on the placement.
I see.
So we use capping for per placement. If you are, for instance, recharging your energy using a video, maybe it depends on the time, but maybe you can do this twice a day. But you can watch after recharging your energy, you can watch another video to, I don't know, to get a free booster for your team, and the capping for the booster is just one per day, so you can watch a lot of videos, but in different placements.
I see. So you don't want to have rewarded video everywhere, but nice subtle placements here and there that say like, Brixbox Blast did this, and they finally did this, David. Like when it first launched, I was like, why do you not have, because you got 5 lives, and then once you run out, I'm like, why don't you just let me watch a video for another life? Like, come on, no brainer. Come on, like, please, you know what I mean? And so like, it drives me nuts. Hey, let me ask you this, while we're on this topic. There's a spot where, you know, a lot of games do this where you win something and then you get some coins, right? And then with Brixbox Blast, I don't want to just put them on blast, but essentially I win some coins. Like, hey, do you want to like triple or like 10 times your coins by paying $1.99? I always say no. But if you're like, let me double my coins and by watching a video, guess how many times I would say yes, right, David? Like, hello, like, is that a good strategy, or is that like, hey, you're doing too many rewarded videos?
No, I think that it is a good strategy.
Right.
In the end, you have to think that the most of the companies are having a conversion rate of, let's say, 2 or 3% or 4%. So you have 95% of the users that are not paying, and you need to monetize them.
Yeah.
So I think that monetizing them with videos is a good strategy, and you have to be sure that it is the perfect moment to do so. For instance, we are doing what you have mentioned in the daily price. You can double the daily price, and on a daily basis, just watching a video. So
right?
I think it is a good strategy.
Yeah, I did a video about video ad monetization optimization too, and it was just about like all the different places. One of the games I like playing was Fun Run 3, and they had that same thing where it's a daily prize, right? Like people, it rewards them to coming back daily, and then gives me a little prize that's sort of random, and then I'm able to double that just by watching the video. And every single time, David, I watch that video. It's like a no-brainer. And Brixbox Blast has that same feature. There's daily rewards, but it's like, hello, just, you know, I feel like there's so many holes in this game that I'm like, oh, I wish I could just get a hold of this. Like I can make this game into a money-making machine because I love it so much. Type of thing.
I think that the goal of the ad monetization team has to be to engage the more users, the better. At least to watch one video. So for that reason, you need to use different placement, because depending on the users, you know that each user uses the gaming in a different way.
Yeah.
So you have to have different placements, because it is better for getting more revenue, for having more users engaged than less users watching more videos. So that's the reason why we are trying to use a lot of different placements.
I love it, David. Anything else you want to cover from anything else?
No, I think we have covered a lot of different things.
I love it. Such a great conversation. Thank you, David. I want to thank you for having dinner early. And then secondly, sharing all this great feedback as well. All right, guys, before we hit the big finish, I do want to thank my last sponsor, adjust.com. Look, they are the all-in-one solution that's going to help you track if your downloads are good. David said it too. Look, not all downloads are the same. Just getting more, it's not always good. And it might hurt your future downloads because you're getting very bad retention. And Google Play is starting to put that as one of the factors. Maybe not so much on iOS, but definitely on Google Play. And so where are the users coming from? What are they doing within the app? That's what Adjust allows you to really see. It allows you to give you all the data that you need to make smarter decisions, whether it's influencer marketing, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram. It's not just about the lowest CPI, it's about the best users from that campaign. So really think about who's going to be the best subscribers, the best users, the best customers from your campaign. And that's what Adjust allows you to do. See why so many big brands are using them just by going to adjust.com Now wait for it, /appmasters. Once again, adjust.com/appmasters. David, this has been absolutely amazing, but let's go to the big finish. Give us one app we definitely have to check out.
Okay, this is a good question. I think that the app that I use the most is Slack, but this is just for work. And also, besides that, maybe I love Headspace. I don't know if you know that,
yep,
if you know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. Yeah, I haven't meditate, but I tried and I love it, and I love it.
I'm a big fan of meditation. So any app that you use to meditate, you should definitely try to meditate. It's helped me in so many areas of my life. David, what's a lesson that took you the longest to learn?
I don't know. I would say that when you are, I don't know, when you are in the industry, you receive a lot of, you see a lot of different opportunities in which you can take part, and you need to think very well in which it is good to take part, and because it is not all. It is not the goal of what I don't know how do you say that, but you have to think very well, very carefully the opportunities that you receive, because when you are famous in the industry and you receive a lot of opportunities, a lot of emails, it takes time, and it is not easy, and they are not successful the most of the time. So you have to be focused on what it gets, the revenue for the company, and spend some time to try different things, but be focused on the things that gets the most of the revenue.
Saying no is sometimes more important than saying yes to all these great opportunities that come.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you've decided, like, this is a good opportunity, this is not a good opportunity? Is it more just like a gut and experience feel, or have you figured out a formula to come up with a way to figure out yes or no?
Oh, it is not a way, but I don't know what to say. But for instance, we received an interesting offer from China, from a company from China, to develop a manager game for the Chinese Super League, and it looked very, very exciting, the project, and we spent a lot of time working on that, and the games they didn't release the game. So in the end, we spent a lot of time, and it was a waste of time.
I see. David, thank you so much. For those who are listening right now, go check out FromTheBenchGames.com. Amazing titles, and just search for any of their games on the App Store. NFL Manager 2019, Real Madrid, Barcelona Fantasy Manager. They are the kings and queens of fantasy manager teams. David, if the audience wants to follow up with you or anywhere else, like, do you want to send the audience anywhere else?
No, just try our games and give us your feedback.
Awesome. And watch a lot of rewarded videos. They've done an amazing job with that.
Yeah. At least they can do in-app purchases as well.
I love it. David, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you for listening. I love it. And let's talk some more, man. Anytime you want to talk shop, I love this conversation. So if we can do every quarter, every 6 months, just come on, talk shop. I'd love to have you back anytime, man.
Okay, perfect. Happy to do that.
Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you on the next chat.
Thanks for listening to the App Masters podcast. For show notes and amazing app marketing content, check out appmasters.co.